All right, everyone. Welcome to an all new episode of Georgio Says the podcast. Today is going to be a Salt Lake City reunion part 2 recap. But is there anything really to recap? It was mainly a bunch of screaming and hollering. But one thing I will touch on, we will be getting into.
We need to talk about this.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me for an all new episode. Today, it is a Wednesday, January 21st. And before I kick off what I'm going to talk about for Salt Lake City's Part 2 reunion, I just want to make some of you aware. And when I say some of you, it's mainly the ones that are really pushing the limits with how you're engaging me, specifically in the DMs. But there was one person in particular that really sent me some disturbing messages. And so I took action. I filed a police report against this person. His name is Michael Luke, and I will include the video explaining it all. Let me introduce you to Michael Luke, who decided that at 2:38 a.m. that he would sit and write me a bunch of disturbing messages. And before I show them, I'm going to say trigger warning because they are disturbing. So Michael first sends a message saying, "Off yourself, British cigarette." But you just kept going, D-I-E, D-I-E, D-I-E. But it doesn't end there. Because you kept going and going and going and going until you finally ended with, "Off yourself, loser. You're such a British cigarette." So of course, Michael, I went and dug you up and found every family member, your Facebook, where you used to work, etc. And I also went ahead and filed a police report because I'm not taking this lightly because it is very disturbing. And I also reached out to your mother. Yeah, I had to do it. I went to your mom to let her know what messages you were sending me, and I attached the screenshots and also let her know that I filed a police report. I'm not really sure what prompted this. I don't really care, but I won't be dealing with any of these types of messages. I will do what I need to do. So best believe if you're gonna be this ballsy, I'm gonna take it 10 steps further. But in essence, this has got to stop. I am not going to sit and keep being badgered because you guys don't like my take or you are a fangirl of one of the housewives that I'm speaking on that's maybe not to your liking is never a reason to call me out of my name, to send me threats, and then also on top of it, like this guy, tell me to off myself over and over again while calling me the F slur. So I did reach out to his mother. You will see that in the clip. But I just wanted to put that out there. I'm not fuck around and find out. That's going to be the energy for 2026. I've already said this previously. I'm going to meet you where you are. If you want to disagree with me, you have every right to do so. I'm not here to sway you to like someone or dislike someone. I'm just giving you my commentary. So with that, let's discuss this train wreck of a reunion part 2 for Salt Lake City. We have been screaming and hollering for an entire hour, folks. Did anything get accomplished? Did you get any answers to any of your burning questions? I know I didn't. But let's talk about the perimeter things because the main piece of this pie I want to spend a majority kind of speaking on and explaining because I feel like although I explained it in my short forms, I feel like the podcast is a bit better. I can actually explain things in more detail. Nonetheless, let's dive in. So we start off with Angie pulling out a scroll that is supposed to have this bombshell information that's supposed to show everyone that Lisa Barlow is behind this Finsta account that is basically talking shit about all the ladies. Okay, so this already is starting to feel like a flop, a prop flop, as they call it, because it's worn out. The scroll was done with. We should move on to something else. But nonetheless, the amount of time that went into putting the scroll together, I struggle to believe that Angie came up with this all on her own. Okay? So that's all I'll say right there. Now, let's discuss the other elephant in the room. Okay, there was a couple. But Mary Cosby, her son, and the whole TLC docuseries around her church being an alleged cult. Now, first, Andy asks Mary about her son and everything that's happened in the news that we've all seen, that he's been arrested again, and the second time was not any better. He went back to the ex-wife's house. The cops showed up, obviously, because there is a restraining order against him. He obviously broke that. Sadly, he was tased. And so Mary's getting emotional. But I have to say something about Mary in this particular situation. I really have to say I applaud her, not only for her honesty on the matter, because it can't be easy to discuss this so publicly, specifically when it's your child. Second, I come from a home of tough love. And I'm not saying that that is the way to go all the time. But in certain situations, I do believe tough love is necessary. So when she was asked, okay, he's in jail until February, until the judge decides what his sentence is going to be for the things that he's done, he asked Mary, have you gone in to see him? And she said, absolutely not. That's weird. I don't want to see my son behind a glass window. And also, that's not the state I want to see him in. So she has decided she's not going to visit her son while he's in jail. And I'm going to say I agree with this. I agree with this wholeheartedly for a number of reasons, because I think at some point you've got to let people learn on their own, and you want them to really understand the severity of their actions and the consequences that can follow. So Mary not going to see her son at the jailhouse does not make her a bad mom or a less caring mom. In fact, I think it means she cares more, because she wants to make sure that he takes it seriously, that he doesn't think that this is some blip, and that when he gets out, he'll just be able to go back to doing what he was doing. Something's got to be a wake-up call. What I did appreciate was the fact that she says she does speak to him on a daily basis, and she prays over him and she preaches to him. But that's about all she can do, right? He is a grown person at this stage of life. She can't really control what he's going to do or not going to do. But what she can do is create boundaries. And I appreciate the fact that she has always kept it 100. I don't always agree with her take or things that she has said, but I have to at least respect that she's being true to herself. And in this situation, I think obviously it's layered, right? Every parent-child dynamic is going to be different, but I think she, of all people, would know what she needs to do in order to show her son, this is business. Like, this is for real. You've got to take this seriously. And I also hope that whatever he learns from this, because I also believe this is part of his journey and it could lead him to doing great things down the road. I think that this really speaks volumes to how not only to treat your child, but anyone in your life that is doing things in a very, I don't know, dangerous way, or living in a dangerous mindset, or doing things that are not healthy for them. At some point, you've got to cut the ties. And as hard as that may be, okay, it's sometimes necessary. Otherwise, they're never going to wake up, you know? So perhaps in Mary's mind, you know, and she did share that when she was 18, she was kicked out of her mom's house for basically doing whatever she wanted and not following the rules. So I think she's taking from her own experience and understanding, okay, he's not perfect. No one is. And I surely did some bad things when I was younger and I got thrown out because of it. She's not throwing him out, but she's not going to let it just slide. And I think that part of this has to be consequence. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen when it comes to what that judge ultimately decides, but perhaps some sort of treatment facility or something in, you know, coordination with, you know, I don't know what that looks like, but I just hope that he can pull through it and that he's better for it, because I think he could have a great testimony if he's able to wake up and see that all of the things that he's been doing with his life is leading him down this horrible path that I don't think anyone wants to see. Whether you like Mary or not, I don't think anybody wants to see someone's child be in jail and, constantly getting themselves in trouble. So I do want to say that I'm thinking of Mary. I have been thinking of Mary in regards to what's going on with her son. Now, when she was questioned about the docuseries, Mary was not very she wasn't very informative or in terms of like answering a lot of the questions. And obviously for her, this is like a lot of bad stuff combined into 3 episodes. She also had some of her family included on the docuseries. So I'm sure that was tough to know and watch. I don't know if she watched it. She probably didn't. But if she has, I'm sure it was tough. I think a couple things. I don't think anyone's perfect. I don't think any church is perfect. And I'm not saying that it's okay if those things that are being alleged are true. Okay? I'm not. But if we take it into account with where this church is, the fact that we're spotlighting just Mary's church as if the entire Mormon religion isn't problematic. Now, if you're Mormon, don't come for me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I'm not here to do the religious debating with people. I'm just saying how it is. Mormonism has, to me, proven to be a very problematic religion in many, many ways. So the fact that she's being spotlighted, and she did address that she's a black church in Utah, one of the very, very few, and I believe that. And she's also Pentecostal. So I've never been to a Pentecostal church. I'm not really sure what the rules are there. I'm not sure how the standards are for a church that is Pentecostal. For all I know, that's what all of the Pentecostal churches do. And in her mind, she's like, look, things are being taken out of context. It seems like it could be a little bit of everything. Some people got burned. Some people were jealous. Some people were greedy. They didn't get a cut of the pie. They didn't make it to the center stage, right? So all of those things considered, I would love for her to open up a little bit more about some of these alleged things, but I don't necessarily know if the reunion's the best place to do it, because honestly, it's spliced and diced, and not everyone has the full amount of time they would like to explain things in detail. So I'm going to keep watching. If there's more stuff that comes out, which I hope there isn't, but if there is, then we'll discuss it then. But at least she acknowledged it. She acknowledged it at BravoCon when people asked her, did she know that this TLC docuseries was coming out? So she's not hiding from it. So I can appreciate that she's addressing it. And whether you believe it or not, that's up to you. I'm not here to sway you any which way. Everyone's entitled to their own views and opinions on the matter. So if you watch the 3 episodes, series, then you take from that what you will. Now, we got to talk about Meredith in the plane situation, because now I'm really confused, okay? For the longest time, the story was it was a 5 or 6 hour flight, and basically the entire duration, Meredith was slowly getting worse and worse with her reactions towards Brittany and how she was acting on the plane and the things she was allegedly saying and doing. But then on the reunion, everyone was like, oh, the worst of it was on the descent part of the trip. So the last hour now, this is where things really got tense. And that's where it's throwing me off. I am not negating that Meredith probably lost her shit. I'm not negating that she had a couple cocktails and whatever before she got on the flight. I'm not negating that she was pissed the fuck off that Brittany would bring that up after she spent a lot of time trying to bring her marriage back into good standing. Okay? I get it. I 100% get it. But at the same time, I love you, Meredith, but Meredith, you're not helping yourself here. You needed to speak up and you needed to really answer the questions. And listen, she uses a lot of legalese. She's very, very much thinking like a lawyer in any situation where she's being confronted. I would have liked a little bit more accountability to say, you know what? Yes, I was pissed off. Yes, I had a moment on the plane. I didn't do all that, but I was surely pissed off, and I apologized to Brittany, if that hurt, for hurting her feelings, if she heard me talking about her. But there wasn't any of that. It was straight to deflecting. And then, unfortunately, Brittany being out there, and then Meredith now bringing up this accusation that Brittany worked with a nail tech who I guess was on the news for being anti-Semitic, which is not okay. Okay. Disgusting behavior. No one should be using someone's culture or race or sexuality against them simply because you don't like it. It's disgusting and it needs to stop. We're in 2026, for goodness sakes. People need to get a grip. However, I didn't like how quick Meredith was quickly trying to make this accusation that Brittany was also anti-Semitic because she got her nails done for free by this nail tech in exchange for a review. So when Brittany explains it, it's like, wait a second, I need a little bit more context because these are heavy things to say about someone. Calling someone anti-Semitic is, in my opinion, like, it's serious. So when Brittany's explaining, wait a second, I used a nail tech that Meredith, you used for a long time, okay? I didn't know all that. I got my nails done. He said he's getting a lot of crappy reviews. He asked if I would make a positive one. I did. And then after the fact, this is from Brittany's stance, all of these people were sending all this stuff about the nail tech, and she was mortified and horrified, as anyone would be. Okay? So I don't think it's fair that Meredith got to deflect everything that happened and then throw this little scenario out there that wasn't discussed throughout the season. At least if they did, I missed it, but I don't think this was discussed. So I don't think that's fair. So I don't like the way Meredith handled that. So I'm going to say that because, look, I know Meredith feels like everything was thrown at her with the kitchen sink, and mainly it's because of Heather. Okay, Heather spearheading this whole thing because she wants another Monica season where she gets to do the, proof, receipts, screenshots, timeline, fucking everything. It's not landing. You're still looking to hold on to this moment, and you're trying to use someone else for it. And Meredith, it's clear to me when Heather said to Meredith, when Meredith said that Heather was screeching at her for 2 months and Heather lost her shit and said, fuck you, Meredith. We're not friends anymore. It's going to be a bumpy ride. That pretty much said everything it needed to say in terms of who Heather is on the show. Okay? Because a lot of people have been pointing that out, that as soon as someone doesn't go along with Heather and what she wants them to do, all of a sudden they become enemy number one and she goes after them. So Heather is not coming off great this reunion or the season, but this reunion in particular. She's screaming, she's jumping in on things that really don't have anything to do with her necessarily. She just wants to be heard and have moments. And that brings us to, well, wait, before we get there, where was Bronwyn? Why does Bronwyn have first seat if she's going to sit there like a mute? Like, what? Just go to the bathroom then, ma'am. Like, why are you sitting there? You have nothing to say? You were there the entire season. So, anyways, I guess she's saving it for next week when she spills all the beans about her and Todd separating. So, okay. Let's get to the other elephant in the room, which is Angie's scroll and what was in it. So, Angie pulls out the scroll. She hands it to Andy, and he unrolls it. And it looks like screenshots of messages and Instagram stuff. And I guess what everyone thought was going to happen, when I say everyone, I'm mainly talking about Heather, Whitney, and Angie. Now, I'm going to say this before I dive into what I need to say. I don't believe this was Angie's idea. I don't believe it was her idea to pull all this together. Yes, she was aware of it, so she does have some accountability in it. But I don't think she came up with this, okay? So we see on screen immediately, because I guess Whitney typed in something where you go on Instagram because there's this user, Candace Story 7. Gosh, this account's going to be famous now because it's been blasted on the reunion and everyone's probably going to the page to try to, friend request, and I believe it's private. But nonetheless, Whitney has claimed, along with Heather, that you know, they went on, they clicked forgot password, they typed in a phone number. They don't say this, but I'm going to explain to you how this works. And they show us a screenshot from what looks like Whitney's desktop or mobile device, where it clear as day says at the bottom, continue as Whitney Rose. So we know she's the one that spearheaded this. So thank you for leaving that portion in, editors. But this was not a gotcha moment, guys. And I want to say this too. I'm not here to sell you on Lisa and Meredith. I'm not. I don't care if you hate them. This isn't even about them, really. It's not about Lisa. This is mainly about the method in which Whitney and Heather and Angie took without doing further investigating before they got loud on the stage to make this big proclamation that, Lisa's been busted. This is the big moment. This is the number. This is Lisa's number, because they had to make sure, like, yes, it blurs it out. Isn't this the last 4 digits of your phone number? Yes, it is. But if you're not familiar with any of that and you don't know how password recovery works on Instagram, then you may fall for it. And a lot of you did. You guys went with it and you're like, but it says. Why would her number be getting a link to get back into the account? Which account? Because the password recovery method is not there for third parties to spy and see who owns what Finsta account. Because that would be a security breach. That means anybody would be able to go search everyone's stuff simply by putting in their phone number. But the funny part is, there's only 3 ways when you go into the forgot password area where you can only type one of 3 things. Just one. It's either going to ask for your username, it's going to either ask for your email address or a phone number. So when I went in and I typed in Candace Story 7 in the username and I clicked forgot password, it prompted me with a message saying that an email was sent to, and it blurs out most of the email, at gmail.com. So meaning I typed in this Finsta account's username, it sends an email to that Finsta account's email on record for them to be able to get back into their account. And I'm sure that account has had a number of those today. Those emails are probably going off. He or she probably had to shut it off, frankly, because I'm sure everyone's doing it. But that does not prove anything. It's not going to tell you who is the owner of the account. Okay, so even though the email was sent to this Gmail account, it doesn't let me know who owns the account. It could be Bob, it could be Billy, it could be, Beth, it could be Mary, it could be, not Mary Cosby, I'm just saying random names. But so that doesn't prove anything. So obviously, and I'm saying obviously because it's just, you can't do any other way. Whitney obviously has Lisa's phone number. She typed it in, and it said it sent an SMS message with a link for said person to get back into their account. It's not going to say, for account, Candace Story 7, a SMS link was sent to this phone number for you to retrieve your account again. It doesn't say that. Again, because that would be a security breach on Instagram's behalf, and they don't do that. Also, that's not what that method is for. If you really need to investigate something, you would need to go to lengths of send a subpoena to Meta to try to get this information. And that would mean that the person's doing something harmful, okay? Someone talking shit through a Finsta account, listen, they all have Finsta accounts, okay? They all do. That doesn't mean that Lisa's the one behind this account that they brought up on this reunion. And I was astounded, though, at how many people were pushing back on me about, no, you absolutely can find out who owns the account by putting in a phone number, by putting in the username. I still have not seen proof of that. What I have seen is a lot of people who have access to ChatGPT sending me the conversations they're having with ChatGPT, which doesn't mean anything, because at the end of the day, I don't know what you prompted ChatGPT, number one. Number two, I'm telling you, and you don't have to take my word for it. If you feel that that's what Instagram's password recovery will do, it will tell me who owns the account, then don't you think everybody would know who's got a Finsta then? Why would we need to wonder? We could just type in the username and it'll pop up with the person's name associated with it. Right? Am I missing something? Obviously not. So, let's be logical about this, guys. I know for a lot of you, you would love nothing more than to have Lisa get busted with something like this. And I'll be the first one to say, if there was valid, justifiable proof, you would be hearing from me. I would say it first. I have no problem calling any of these housewives out. At all. But I'm not going to just go along with Whitney and Heather's narrative that they were trying so hard to push, which is why they were becoming so unraveled, by the way. Also, Heather called her cousin a piece of shit on this reunion because Whitney thought, why didn't I pull out my phone to record on the plane? And Heather's in her face being like, and I thought to myself, what a piece of shit. Why would someone do that? You must be a piece of shit. Like, literally, and it took Whitney a minute to realize that she was being called a piece of shit by Heather. And I hope that Whitney realizes that Heather is there for Heather. You guys need to understand one thing and one thing only. Heather is not there to do anything other than try to make moments and try to make a good show. And listen, I'll give it to you guys out there that are Heather stans. She does, for the most part, she will say the thing that no one maybe wants to say or bring up. So I will give her that, and I have given her that. But this has gotten to a point of desperation, and now she's clinging on to any little thing to try to make a moment out of it or take someone down, all in the name of what? Creating a good show? Did you guys enjoy the reunion? Did you? I want to know. Did she pull it together for you guys? Did she show up and show out and call everyone out to the carpet? All I heard was a bunch of screaming and hollering. Nothing got answered. Nothing got resolved. And furthermore, with Heather specifically, and she's not the only one, and I've said this before too, when a housewife is dependent on the Housewives show to give them what they have in their life, whether that be cars, houses, paying college tuitions, Fendi sweaters and all that fun stuff. Like, those housewives are dangerous at some point because they cannot lose this. If they lose this, then that completely strips them of everything that they've worked to build while they've been on this platform. So the ones that have businesses, the ones that had businesses before coming into the show, yeah, you can call them whatever you want. They could get demoted. They could get fired. But guess what? They have their company to go back to. And they were already living a certain way before they got on Housewives. Did it elevate a bit once they did? Yeah, but everyone's life elevates when you get on one of these shows and it's doing well. Of course it is. You don't have to be a smart cookie to figure that one out. I'm just saying that in Heather's case, she will be the demise of this franchise eventually. She's got to cool it. I don't know what she's trying to prove, but it seems like she's being very arrogant and cocky. Threatening Meredith like she's going to basically come for her next season because she said she screeched at her for 2 months. That already is telling on yourself, Heather. It's telling on yourself. Everything that people have been speculating about you just confirmed with that statement, to me at least. And I'm not sure how else you're supposed to take that. And she didn't deny it was a threat because Lisa said, is that a threat? Sounds like a threat. She's like, it is a threat. Yeah. So that's wild to me that, like, you're this angry about something that you need to take it this far. But for all of you that think I want Heather off the show, I do not. Just like I don't want Giselle off the show. And I know you guys are all pissed at me for coming for Giselle. But I don't want Giselle off the show either. I want a reckoning. I want a reckoning. I want it to be Heather's turn. I want Heather to be in the hot seat. I want it to be thrown at her with the kitchen sink and see how she handles it. But I'll say this, Lisa, she held her own and she is winning. She sat there like a statue, yes, but you know what? She can't win. She sits there and doesn't say anything and doesn't react. You guys are like, saying whatever you need to say about that. Then she does react and you're like, all she did was scream and yell. Which one, guys? Which one? Also, I need to make a list of all these housewives that I'm on their payroll because I have not received a check. So they owe me some money, it looks like. And there's a lot of them. Melissa Gorga, Tamra Judge, Mary Cosby. Now it's Meredith, too. You guys added Meredith to the list. Lisa Barlow, yes, of course, I'm on her payroll. And now Angel from Potomac. Don't forget that one. She's a newbie, but she's already got me on her payroll. So just so we're clear, I haven't received a dime from any of these housewives. So if I am on their payroll, then I'm missing out on some cash. So I'll need to deal with that, I guess, offline. But listen, this is a horrible reunion thus far. And I will say this, Andy's walk-off for like 5 seconds was performative. It was performative. He knew what he was doing. He knew there wasn't anything happening and something other than the screaming and yelling needed to take place. So getting up and walking away, which I think is a first for him. It didn't land with me. I didn't feel like that was real because he didn't even really walk off the stage. He walked all the way like he was leaving and then he turned around and smiled. And he's like, come on, guys. Did anyone even notice outside of Mary that he left? Probably not. He could have left and gone to the bathroom, taken a shit, had a lunch break. They still would have been screaming and yelling at each other before they even remotely realized that he wasn't sitting in his chair. So it's a mess, guys. It's a mess. But yes, just so we're clear, Instagram password recovery is not a method to show someone owns an account unless you are the person that owns said account. That's it. I know it's simple. It's so simple that it's probably flustering everyone that really was hoping that this was true. I'm so sorry to have done that to you. So that's all I got to say about that, because that, again, there's not really much to recap. I've said everything I needed to say between short form and this podcast. Listen, you guys know well, maybe you don't know if you're new here. I've always been the one to come to you guys with as much context and truth as possible, because I think it's only fair that these clickbait narratives and these stories that get circulated just for the rage bait of it all, it deserves some context, specifically when there's serious allegations, saying someone owns an account that is sending harmful and, doing dirty things against their cast members. That's serious. Anything that's just a blatant lie. I believe people need to know the truth so they can make their decision based on as much information as possible. So I've always been someone personally in my own life who likes to get to the bottom of every single thing before I make a call. Because otherwise, anybody can fluff things and make things a certain way. Yeah, I understand that. But I think for me, it's my duty and what I do here to bring you guys the honest take. And not just honest and bring you some facts along with it, give you some context to fill in the gaps so that you can empower yourself to make your own decisions when you're watching these women on the show based on what's happening. So that's my intent. Whether or not you receive that, I can't really control that. All I know is I'm going to stay how I am. I'm going to always bring it to you straight away. I'm going to give you my honest take. And when I mess up, I'm going to own my shit. I don't have a problem taking accountability if I am wrong. Just like I took accountability with my harsh critique on Angel before I got more context to what was happening in Colorado. I don't have a problem apologizing. I don't have a problem saying I was wrong. I'm not an egomaniac like that. So, with all that being said, guys, if you're listening to this on audio, please rate me 5 stars. It does help the podcast, and I greatly appreciate it. If you're watching this on YouTube, please hit all the buttons and make sure this video goes out to all the right people that need to see it. And yeah, I think I'll leave it here for today. If you guys are in the DMV area, brace yourselves. We're allegedly getting a huge snowstorm. But, you know, that could change by the time Saturday comes, so we'll see. But other than that, guys, stay safe, stay warm, and until the next episode, I will talk to you on the next one. Bye.